Within the Loki Checkout, one of the common tasks that we're actually dealing with is to allow for one component, one field, or one area of fields to be influenced by the values of another. So basically that one value depends upon another. And actually one example that we worked with recently is the Buckaroo module, and then specifically actually a module method or payment method for Riverty slash Afterpay. And we actually worked upon that, and we concluded that the functionality needed to be in a certain way. That actually leads into this little demo that kind of showcases Buckaroo, which is great, but it also showcases the way that one field and one value in the quote could influence another. So in this demo environment, I've configured actually the Buckaroo module to have all of its payment methods available. So that's leading into quite a long list, but that's just for the demo purpose and or developer purpose. Second, I've also chosen actually the one-step checkout, while actually with a magnitude of all of these payment methods, plus the fact that actually every payment method could have its own little subform. I usually would go actually for the multi-step checkout, so that first the shipping method and the shipping address is being shown, and then actually only in the second step you're displaying all of the available billing methods, plus their little forms that are attached to a specific payment method. But that's again for developer purpose. And now actually zooming into the method that I wanted to focus upon, Riverty, aka Afterpay. Within the Buckaroo module, it actually ships with a configuration value that I will just pull up, and that's the so-called customer type. And there's actually three different ways to configure this: B2C, business to consumer, business to business, or both. And that's actually leading into choices that need to be made on the front end regarding what kind of fields the end consumer is filling in. Because with the business to consumer configuration, at that moment, actually, the customer needs to complete fields like agreeing with certain terms and conditions, entering a birth date, and also entering a telephone number or phone number. While with the business-to-business configuration, the phone number could be skipped, but to the very least, a date of birth is actually then replaced with a Chamber of Commerce number, in Dutch a KVK number. And now actually the intriguing part is that if it's both, then actually the checkout needs to be determining whether a certain field or a certain quote is actually put together for either a consumer or a business itself, so classifying it as B2C or B2B. And that's actually simply being done based upon the fact whether a company name is being entered or not. And that's actually the use case that I wanted to focus upon. So if I would select as a customer type both, it basically depends upon the configuration of values entered in the existing form, whether actually the Chamber of Commerce number or the date of birth is being picked upon. Well, and currently I've already entered a couple of different shipping address values, and because of the checkbox here, my billing and shipping address are the same. Every time that I enter a specific value here regarding the company name, for instance, then actually correspondingly the billing address is being updated here as well. However, now in the case, because the company name has been entered, the Riverty method is concluding actually that the Chamber of Commerce number should be entered. And that's kind of like the thing that I wanted to demo, because now if I would remove the company name, then automatically the billing address is being updated, and because the billing address is now excluding a company, automatically Riverty is now concluding that instead of actually entering the Chamber of Commerce number, the date of birth should be entered instead. Now, all of this seems rather like a complex situation, and if you would need to build this with plain JavaScript or jQuery or Knockout or other frameworks, then actually it would be rather cumbersome. But thanks to the Loki Components architecture, it's actually quite straightforward. So let me dive into a little bit of the code behind it. So first of all, within the Buckaroo module, if I expand the XML layout, you can actually see that for the right handle, Loki Checkout block payment methods, all of the different payment methods have actually gotten their own payment handle or XML layout handle. And as you can see, there's actually far less XML layout handles than there are actually payment methods offered by Buckaroo, but that's just simply due to the fact that a method like ideal or ideal processing, they don't need their own little subform, and therefore nothing additionally is being rendered except for that radio button that is already there. Now, in my case, I want to zoom into the Riverty method, and Riverty underneath is actually named after the original payment provider, Afterpay. So now if I open up Afterpay 2.0, you can actually see that there's a magnitude of different blocks being loaded. All of them belong actually to the form that is attached to the Afterpay method itself. And then actually all of these different methods or all of these different form fields pop in, an identification number, a telephone number, a date of birth, a Chamber of Commerce number. And actually for my demo, I focused upon the date of birth and the Chamber of Commerce. All of the other fields are basically configurable due to, well, the things in the Magento admin panel. But you can see that both the fields date of birth and Chamber of Commerce are actually being rendered. So it's actually up to other logic to conclude which one is going to be rendered, depending upon actually the condition in the quote. So whether the company field is actually saved to the quote or not. Well, all of these different fields, they are actually Loki components, and because they are Loki components, they're all being based upon certain configurations. So here we can see that the terms and conditions, and if I scroll up a little bit more, the date of birth, they're all being grouped together with a certain, well, Loki component group, and that in the end is boiling down towards these specific two classes. So for all of the fields, generic classes are being used. The repository will be saving things to the quote, but actually the toggling bit that I wanted to demo is actually based upon this specific view model. Every Loki component view model always has a method called isAllowRendering. The default is true, so we always allow rendering such a component. However, we can hook into this in multiple different ways. We can actually influence whether a certain component is allowed rendering via the XML layout. That would be static. We can also hook into things with DI plugins, simply because this method is a public method. But now, because this functionality is actually built into the core of the Buckaroo module, we can actually look up things like so. That basically every method is being hooked into a certain property name. So if I hook back into the XML layout, we can actually see here customer COC and customer DOB being both the last part in the block name, but also the alias name. Well, based upon that specific logic, you can see here that the customer COC is being matched, and it's only being rendered. It's only being allowed to render if B2B is actually true, and that is B2B helper method is just boiling down to the logic of the Buckaroo module again. In a similar way, customer DOB is also being entered only if the current quote is actually classified as being a B2C quote, and if the country name NL and BE are also the matching up with the current billing address country. The main thing that I wanted to point out is basically that every time that you build a Loki component, you always get this method available here as well. The default is true, but you can simply modify that value if you see fit. Either when you're building a custom Loki component, like we've done actually with the Buckaroo module, or actually if you want to modify yet another Loki component, you can also hook into its isAllowRendering public method by using a DI plugin. Long story short, I think actually this little demo showcased maybe one of the more advanced features, specifically because the Buckaroo module desired or needed this behavior. But by showing the underlying technology, I hopefully also demonstrated that all of this is configurable, and all of this is something that you can do yourself as well by building things on top of the Loki Checkout and or Loki components.